Hello, my friends. Thank you very much for joining me here again today. Um, it's apparent that maybe this coronavirus situation is kind of winding down. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen day by day, week by week, much less month by month, but it seems that the world is starting to open up a little bit. I'm in the US, and of course, things are getting back to normal here across most of the country. But many other parts of the world are lagging way behind just because of low vaccination rates. And of course, the Olympics are starting up in a couple of weeks. And in Japan, their vaccination rate is not nearly what it is in the United States. So, anyway, the point is things are slowly getting back to normal. Um, if you've watched any of my videos, you know my story. Um, I spent most of my time in northern India. Like most of the last 20 years, I've been in Dharamsala. Uh, you can see Tibetan prayer flags behind me. I've been teaching English among the Tibetan refugee population in Dharamsala, McLeodganj, which is where the Dalai Lama is headquartered as well. That's been most of the past 20 years of my life. Last year in February, I came back to the United States for my dad's 80th birthday. And of course, we all know what happened in March of 2020. So I have been basically stuck here in the US for 16 months and have had really no chance whatsoever in getting back to my life in India, which is the place that I have considered home since the early 2000s. So it's been challenging for me. And again, lots of people have their stories of, you know, how their lives have changed because of the COVID situation. But what I wanted to talk about a little bit today is simplicity and minimalism. I know there's, you know, an unbelievable amount of information on the internet about both of those topics. Um, but I wanted to share my experience because I, during my time living in northern India, um, partially I made a choice, but partially I didn't have an option. It's a different kind of lifestyle. I live on the edge of the Himalayas at about 6,500 feet. I live in a relatively small town, even though there's a large tourist contingent in Dharamsala McLeodganj because of the Dalai Lama and Tibetan refugees and all that. Still, it's northern India and it's Himalayan northern India. And so things are pretty simple. Um, I just heard secondhand from some people who have been stuck over there during this entire pandemic that there has been a major shortage of water. All of our water comes down from the mountain via these little metal pipes, goes into big black tanks that hold about 1,000 liters of water, and then gets pumped into the house, and sometimes using electrical pumps to pump it up onto the roof into other tanks. So you can see that in that process, there's a lot of things that can break down and cause just a complete water outage, and I've experienced that many times. There are almost constant interruptions in electricity service. We have monkeys all over the place, and the monkeys are pulling down power lines. We have gigantic, uh, they call them deodar trees. It's a kind of pine and or evergreen, and those the forests of those trees come down with wind or heavy snowfall, and even snowfall itself in the wintertime can pull down power lines. Anyway, there's just a lot of reasons why we can have interruptions in electricity, and it happens all the time. Like, we hardly ever go through a period of 2 or 3 days without a power cut of some kind, weather related, monkey related, who knows what related. So often we're just saying to ourselves, why do we have no power? So, what I'm saying is that I have become accustomed to a very simple, old fashioned, minimalist kind of lifestyle living in India for most of the last 2 decades. And so it's been very interesting for me to be back in the US this last year and a half. Um, I don't have my own place to live here. I've been kind of bouncing around between the homes of my different family members, either my parents who are 80-ish and they have a lot of space in their house. Also, both of my brothers are very accommodating and very welcoming to me. Their homeless brother who is stuck in the United States and in limbo. So, uh, what I'm trying to say is that I feel like I've been living in the lap of luxury this last 16 months after such a long time becoming accustomed to simplicity, minimalism, infrastructural uh, deficits living in India. I forgot to mention cable television, always, and this is mainly monkey related. Cables are going down all the time. The TV doesn't work. I finally got rid of my cable service because it was more of a hassle than anything else, and a frustration that 30% of the time when I turned on the TV, it was not working, and then I had to track down where the disconnect had occurred. I had to get on the phone and call the technician to come out on his motorcycle and run around the neighborhood and find out how it got disconnected. So uh, that's another one. Um, Another issue would be propane. We often, most of our stoves are run on propane tanks, and it's gas that you hook up, just like most people in the United States have, on their power or on their gas grill on the deck in the backyard. But we have shortages of propane. We have distribution problems that occur from time to time. The prices have been spiking in recent years because of shortages and distribution problems, etc. Um, so there are times when you run out of propane and then you cannot get a replacement for at least a couple of weeks. This happens to people all the time. Then we have cellular service, which goes out. We have internet, although there's 4G internet in our area, very oftentimes it goes back to 3G or even 2G. And so streaming is difficult. Uh, there are times when it's just fine, and then there's other times where it glitches out on us for days or a week at a time. So those are just some examples. And what I said a few minutes ago is that in a way, some of it just happens to me, but then other ways I have made choices. For example, I went for years without a refrigerator. I just decided I'm not going to get a fridge, mainly because of some of these reasons of power outages. And, if you get a refrigerator or a freezer, you rely on it, then the power goes out for several days and you've got a bunch of ruined food. So for years, I just decided not to rely on a refrigerator, which means that I would make my food on a daily basis, eat as much of it as I could or I wanted, and just never kept leftovers. I never bought things in advance. I would always go out and if I need milk, I just go get milk when I need it. If I need eggs, I go get them when I need them. If I rarely cook meat at home, I would go get it when I need it. Vegetables, same. Just keep fresh stuff around. Um, yeah. Anyway, I could go into a lot of other examples. My apartment itself is just a small place. Just basically, it's kind of like what we would call a studio in the United States. It's just one room, which is my office, my living space, my bedroom, and then a very narrow kitchen, which kind of looks like a little hallway with a bathroom at the end of that, and then a little balcony that's about 3 feet deep. Um, I do my laundry in a bucket with warm, soapy water where I scrub and then I wring it out and then I put it back in the bucket and put fresh water in and wring that out, uh, rinse and soak and wring it out again, and then I hang it on the balcony. My laundry gets hung on the balcony, where sometimes it can be all torn down by the monkeys and even carted away. In my town, it is not unusual at all or uncommon at all to watch the monkeys racing through the streets with somebody's underwear on its head that it ripped down from somebody's clothesline. So this is kind of the life that I have lived. And I would like to do more videos talking about uh, simple lifestyles, minimalist lifestyles, whether it's forced upon you, foisted upon you, or whether it's something that you have chosen yourself. And as I've tried to make clear in this video, both of those things have happened in my life. Some things I wish were not the case, but there are other things that I have chosen. Another example is that I've gone many years without a motor vehicle. I walk everywhere I go, and occasionally I'll use an auto rickshaw or a taxi, but sometimes I'll go for 3 months without being in a motorized vehicle. So those are just a few of the examples that I wanted to share with you. And I wanted to say that being back in the US these last 16 months has been a blessing. It's been really nice to sort of be surrounded with or surrounded by the creature comforts and the luxuries that everybody takes for granted in the US. But one of the greatest blessings for me of having spent so much time in my situation in northern India is that when I come back here, my eyes are wide open and I can't even put it into words how grateful I am and how thankful I am for every single little convenience, even turning on the tap, even getting in the shower and turning it on and having it be a full stream of water instead of a trickle, which happens to us all the time. Um, Going and opening up a full refrigerator freezer, having ice that's available all the time. Um, Wi-Fi internet that works 99.999% of the time. Anyway, you know what I'm saying, but I think for most of us in the Western world, and of course I'm talking about from the perspective of the United States, there's so many things that we just completely take for granted. It's like we just expect it to be there. We don't even think about where it comes from. And I feel very blessed and very grateful that the circumstances of the last 20 years of my life have given me a heart of gratitude and an awareness of how wonderful it is to have these conveniences and luxuries that other people completely take for granted. So I guess we could call this part one of maybe a series of videos. I don't think I'll do them back to back, but just more discussion about uh, maybe things that we need versus things that we want, and the whole idea of living in simplicity and living uh, a downsized, more minimalist kind of lifestyle, which I think Americans could learn from people in other parts of the world. I'm not trying to advocate for living in a mud hut and sitting on the gravel and cooking your food in a hole in the ground and going to the bathroom in the woods. Some people like that. Camping, it's fine. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to be an extremist radical about this, but I'm saying that maybe we could pull, the lever a little bit more in a different direction, um, and maybe people would find that there's other things in life to focus on. I could keep talking, as you could see, and this is long enough. So anyway, thank you for joining me. Um, if you do have a comment or any kind of feedback, I would appreciate it if you would leave that down below. Thank you.